Ahoy hoy. What have I been up to the last 2 weeks? Well, I've been cutting out pieces of timber at last. Got a 2-piece ash body here that I finally jointed together. I bought a jointer planer, possibly not the most expensive one, probably the cheapest one. The instructions were appalling, and all the reviews I found since purchasing it, I found out are in Russian on YouTube, so possibly not the best purchase in the world. However, the body's jointed together. Here's some stills of what it looks like at the moment. The joy of working with one of your own designs rather than I'm doing a Strat or a Telly is you don't need to work from a template. You need some certain things. You need a centre line. You need, if you're doing a bolt-on neck, you need enough timber there for a neck pocket. I haven't even decided on the neck yet. Shall I use one of my ones that I've got for kits? Shall I make one up myself? Haven't decided. But then I was sort of going through things, and I had a few people over to try out some guitars to see whether they wanted to order one. And we were discussing the cost. And cost is an interesting thing. Let me expand on that for a moment. So I don't know where I got to. I went to Northampton for a friend's stag do, and while we were waiting for drinks, I went across the road because there was a Cash Converters. It's for Americans, pawn shop, second-hand shop, that kind of thing. They've always got a couple of guitars in the window. Sometimes they're overpriced, sometimes they're very well priced. In fact, I just bought a great amp for not very much money from one. Click. Brilliant, hey? Second-hand reuse is always better than recycling. But they were selling guitars under some no-name. Tellers and Strats and Les Pauls and PRSs, which I was particularly interested in. Not that I want one or need one, but they were reasonable looking. Of course, they didn't have everything right. And of course, you know, in a later video, I want to talk about what to look for when you look for guitars to find out whether they're good or not. But they were £59, including a soft case, brand new. £59. That's cheaper than the hotel I was staying in that night. That was cheaper than the meal and drinks. It was cheaper than everything. And I couldn't understand why. And it reminded me that it's time to talk really about one of the cornerstones of what I want to do here with my guitars. They need to be beautiful. I want them to be bespoke. I want to work with you to make the guitar that you want. They need to be ergonomic in my mind. I'm fed up of lumps of wood shaped like planks with pickups on. They're not guitars. They're sales items that are easy to manufacture. I'll rant about that another time. But they also need to be ethical. Ethics is an important part and will grow to be an even more important part of our consumer society. And what that means is that you are responsible for what you buy. Where does this come from? I did my dissertation on ethical retailing, on ethical consumerism. So it's along the lines, for simplicity's sake, let's have some examples. In the UK, if you buy eggs, you'll probably buy free-range eggs, and if you're clever, you'll probably look for organic. Why is that? Because you know through decades of publicity how badly chickens have been looked after in order to make as many eggs as we need for our breakfast. Thank you very much. Because people publicised that, consumers became more aware of it and demanded from the producers free range. They also demanded organic. We can debate about that another time. It can also be politically motivated. For example, during the 70s and 80s and apartheid in South Africa, I happen to remember a babysitter of mine not wanting to have some fruit that my mother offered her because it came from South Africa. Whereas governments were not imposing sanctions on a country because of its political beliefs, individuals were. Not all of them. But, for example, my babysitter refused to have anything from South Africa because it helped, in her mind, promote that regime. And I think we've got to the stage now as well that we ought to look at that. Remember that £59? When I was a youngster, my first guitar was terrible. It was a second-hand black Les Paul satellite copy in about 87 that probably cost me £100. What's £100 from 1987 in today's money? It's quite a lot, isn't it? But that's what was available. What's available now is this. Fender's Squire range have a bullet range of, yes, I put the stripes on, incredibly affordable guitars. They've got Stratty Telecaster in, they've got a Mustang one. And this is fantastic. For £115, you can buy solid, 2 humbuckers, not a tremolo, fixed bridge, I prefer fixed bridges, rosewood coloured neck, fretboard. It's all there. It's even got a metallic blue paint job. And it's a good playing guitar. It's a little bit of a shorter scale, I would say, but Mustangs were. Bit of a thinner neck, quite nice though. And it's perfectly reasonable. That's made in Indonesia. It's really good. So you should probably buy it if you're starting off. I can't think of anything else. But what does this cost? So I was thinking, let's do some sums. This also came out because a couple of potential clients came round to try out guitars I have made and spec up their own. And we were talking about what it would cost to make. Now, for solo manufacturers, builders like me, it's not cheap because we don't have masses of staff to do things with masses of machinery to do it quickly. It will be bespoke and handmade. But what about parts? So, for example, that guitar there's 115. The one I saw in the second-hand shop, but brand new, was 59 quid. I looked on Amazon for the cheapest hardware possible. So, let's go down the list of what it cost me on the cheapest hardware. Tuning pegs, $6.99. Pickups, $3.96 each. Pickup screws, £1.98. Pickup rings, £1.99. A bridge, £3.89. Nut, £1.49. Strap buttons, £2.86. A wiring loom, £8.69. Frets, £3.49. And a truss rod for £9.95. Interesting thing, they all came from China. And the price for me is £49.21. That does not include timber, or paint, or making it. That's just the hardware. So I'm thinking about that £59 guitar that the guy's probably making 15 or 20 quid on. So everything was 40 quid. Okay, well, if you buy in bulk, that £49 is probably half that, 25 quid. Which leaves £15 for timber, paint and manufacture and shipping it to the UK. Well, there's probably a lot of machinery involved. I've seen a number of factories in China that are wonderful. For example, their lighting factories are some of the best I've ever seen. £15 to make a guitar plus wood. Something doesn't add up there. I mean, just to show you what I mean. So, parts for my Dorado that I made, I would call mid-range. They came to £388.67. And if I wanted to go high range, you can pick anything you like for just parts on the guitar. I spec'd one up here, and I'd even change the bridge on that. Let's call it 762 quid for hardware alone. But then if you want special timber, so for example, the quilted maple from the Dorado, I think cost me about 180 quid overall. And getting, painting it and getting it sealed and what have you, costs a fortune. Plus, it took me 4 or 5 weeks full time to make. So who is making a guitar for £59? That's why I physically don't have it with me. Not that I couldn't afford it, not that I didn't want it. It's the fact that I don't want to support whatever methodology has gone into making a guitar for that little amount of money. Because the next place to save money is who's making it. And I am really, really worried by things I'm reading coming out of our manufacturing bases for this country. That said, it's your opinion and your shout. That's for you to make that decision. I always love buying second-hand guitars. Got one in the workshop right now, which I'm just doing up for somebody else. Click! Turns out it's a CT Ibanez that somebody had painted over. Don't know why, but they did. But if you want somebody to make you a guitar, make sure they're making it to your specifications. Make sure they're making it using exactly what you want. Look into where your guitars are coming from. Look into where your eggs come from. The same thing. Make your decisions ethically. They do have long-term and long-winding effects down the supply chain. Don't take other people's words for it. As a final thing, on ethical sourcing, I want to buy ethically sourced timber, sustainably sourced timber. This is ebony. The last ebony forest in the world is owned or part owned and certainly run by Taylor Guitars. So all ebony comes from there. It is FSC certified. That's Forestry Stewardship Council. That means that it is sustainably sourced. Things that are chopped down are replanted. There's a lot of ethics that goes on in the background of that. PEFC is another acceptable forestry stewardship ideology. If I'm going to be building a house with timber, I can find FSC and PEFC timber. I have been trying, like Billy Ho, to find FSC timber for guitars. This is it. And that's purely because Taylor have gone out of their way to make sure that it is not used up. Can I find FSC or PEFC suitable timber anywhere else? No. So I'm having to make choices based upon the suppliers that I meet. Is it locally sourced? Can I find out where it's been felled from? What other history have they got with sustainable sourcing? And the fact is, nobody in guitars seems to give a damn. It doesn't mean I'm going to stop asking though. And I don't think you should stop either. When you're buying your guitars, find out where it came from. Find out why it costs that little. Can you buy a fantastic guitar for under £200? Yes. Should you? Don't think so. Anyway, a bit more cheery next week. I'm going to get on the router with this and try and work out a fun neck pocket. Till then, take care.